What's poppin'? Today I'm going to show you guys 5 things that you have to try out with the newest addition to Fortnite Creative, which is the Henchmen spawner / guard spawner. And this is obviously combinations of devices and little tricks and tips which you can use with this device. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so the first one is something that I really want to cover because you guys spammed this under this last video, and it was how you can drop more than just one item or just one gun that the guard has in the inventory. And a lot of you guys mentioned that you can use the Elementation Manager. Yes, that is completely right, and I'm going to show you in a second how you can do this. But this video was purely about the guard itself. The guard itself can only drop one item, which is the item that he's holding. And you can manipulate that with the Elementation Manager. The Elementation Manager is a very old device and it got recently renewed. It's a really cool device now and it's really helpful, especially using the target type here, which you have to do to make sure that the guard is dropping anything. So there's, you can even have like special guards like the Ghost Guard only or the Gordo Guard, but you can even have all types players only or whatever. So how this device works is you can basically just put whatever item, consumable, whatever you want to put on this device. You can just throw it in here like that. So you can, for example, use ammo shells, and then you're going to drop them in here and it floats into the device. And this device is even simpler because you do not even have to use channels with this device. It is a super simple device. It will drop whatever you want at the target type. Obviously, you can go very in depth with this one. You can have special classes, special teams. You can have special guards dropping only certain items, but you do not have to use any of these channels here. And any guard that will be linked to this device will drop these items. And now you can see as soon as we kill the guard, it drops all the items plus obviously the gun that it has in its inventory by itself. So we have the banana, we had a key card, and we also had the ammo. And this is how you can make guards drop more than just one item, but you obviously have to use the Elementation Manager, which by the way you can find under the devices tab. And then you can see it right here. Alright, so the next one is a life-saving trick which you can use to speed up the process of guard spawning. You guys know that the guards have a spawn timer in there. So there's the spawn timer which is by default I think set to 3 seconds, and this takes obviously forever. The second lowest is 1 second, which is still a lot of time, and you have obviously none, which means there's no bot spawning. But the good thing about the spawner is that you actually have an option to set a channel here. And this will actually allow the guards to spawn even faster than the 1 second that you have in here. So you can see here we're going to put this one to 1 second, and we have these guards spawning on this side. And on the other hand, we have the Shadow Henchmen spawning with a channel set to channel 3. But the little difference is that we're going to trigger it with the music sequencer. And you're going to see in a second what is going to happen. So what you now can see is that the shadow guards are spawning in so fast compared to the ones which are just spawning in via the timer, and the shadow guards are already fully spawned in while the ghost guards are still spawning in. And to make this happen, as already said, you need to go into the options here to make spawn and then set it to whatever custom channel you want. And then you're going to set up a sequencer. You can basically do whatever in here. The only important thing is that you set looping to some kind of loop. You can have it to 16 or infinite, whatever. It doesn't really matter as long as it spawns all of your guards in. And then you're going to set in a custom channel in here, a trigger device. Same channel as this one, obviously, which spawns the guards. And then you're going to have even faster spawning, which is really helpful if you want to have a mass amount of guards spawning at the same time, instead of this very slow process where there is going to spawn a guard every second. Okay, so for number 3, I'm going to show you the full concept of having friendly and enemy henchmen within the same team or another team, because a lot of you guys seem to have problems with that the last time and had a few problems to fix there. So I'm going to show you guys how you can basically create a little infective mode where you basically get shot by the henchmen and then join the henchman side. So what we need for that is, first of all, we need the henchman spawner. In the henchman spawner, we need to set a custom team, which is not our team. I already showed you guys how to see it, which is your current team or which team to set up. You go to team select and then you see your team here. If you go into the team settings, you need to obviously change that to a different team. And other than that, obviously all your settings are completely on you. There's one little thing which you have to do then is when eliminating player, you have to set that to a custom channel. That means as soon as the guard eliminates you, you're going to switch teams. How are we going to do that? With the class selector. In here, same thing. You're going to set the team that the guard is on. Team to switch to, you're going to set that to this. Also, time to switch should be instant, so it immediately goes off. And then we're going to scroll a little bit down here and we see change player to team when receiving from. That is obviously the same channel as when the guard eliminates us. Now the important thing, which a lot of you guys had a problem with, was that you have to go into your island settings, and by default this is set to free for all. Sometimes, not every time, it will not work if you have teams and then you have the free-for-all setting in here. So make sure that you have a team settings or even cooperative or custom in here. So make sure that you have any of the team settings in here, and then it will probably and most likely work. Sometimes creative is a little bit buggy, so we cannot promise everything. But after that, you can see that as soon as we start this, so now you can see they got the textures, and oh yeah, we're gonna get shot very fast, even though it's still terrible aim. But we now got shot, and now what will happen is that we're going to spawn in the enemy team with the guard, and now you can see the guard will not detect us anymore, and now we're basically on the guard's team. And this is basically a very simple version how you can create an effective game mode. This will also work like with normal players. But for the sake of having this, make sure that you have all the settings right, and then it should be no problem having friendly and enemy guards. Alright, so the next thing, which I think is a pretty cool thing, especially for a map maker, is that guards also have interactions like gliding and swimming. While swimming, we don't have water yet. There's one very cool thing which you can do with gliding, and that is actually using the air vents here and put the skydive after launch on. So if you do that, you can basically have a skydiving bot for an entire time. So it's very cool. You put the basically the spawner of the guard inside of a barrier so it doesn't fly out, and because the guard always tries to escape the air vents, so it needs to be kind of in here as well. Then you're going to put the air vent in here as well, and then when you start the game, you can see that the guard will spawn inside of the tube, obviously, and it will basically bounce up and down. And oh, here we are here. So you can see that the guard basically has this flying animation, which is a really cool practice drill for like people trying to shoot people out of air. And generally, maybe like if you want to create like some kind of like adventure map where you're gonna have a flying guard, you can still use the air vent for that. Because I think that is a really cool thing and a really cool detail to the guards, which obviously all the other devices cannot do. And last but not least, I want to show you guys something really cool, which is definitely something that a lot of adventure map makers and a lot of people that try to create some special experiences like boss fights with the guards can do. And this is going to use the Skydome device and obviously the guard spawner. So in the guard spawner, there's an option which is called when alerted to player transmit on the channel, which means basically the second the guard gets alerted, like really gets alerted, not the question mark, but when it gets alerted, starts shooting at you, you can send a signal, which then can initiate a boss fight or something cool happening in your map. So for example, you can use the Skydome here, and you can see the Skydome right now is something like this looking. So it's kind of like this like gradient area, like just the focus on the boss fight. And you can actually enable that with the guard, and it will basically look a little bit like this. So you can see that the guard will spawn normally and nothing happens yet, but as soon as it gets alerted, the boss fight starts and the area gets gradient. And you can see this is like a really cool way in how you can create like unique boss fights and kind of unique scenarios. You can even have like maybe a poisoning effect or whatever, like kind of that stuff. Just be a little bit creative. This is like a kind of like hinge on what you can actually do with this device and how you can use this to create really unique scenarios. And that's it with the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Hopefully you learned something today, got inspired a little bit, and have something new to do with the guard spawners. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys back in the next one. Bye.